This is an ultra-luxury and ultra-expensive hotel built on a lagoon right next to the Mayan ruins in Mexico. I personally can't believe this hotel is not talked about more. With 4 comprehensive tests and dozens of criteria points, I reviewed this hotel out of 50 points in 5 categories. The categories are the ambiance, the room, the dining, the service, and the it factor. All of my reviews can be found on RyanWalkerT5.com. Rosewood Mayakoba has one of the most interesting and unique welcome amenities I've ever seen. So let's get in there and start with the ambiance. When you arrive, they actually pick you up in this beautiful covered boat here and take you down the river to your room. Such an incredible and peaceful way to start your journey with Rosewood. This takes you down the Mayakoba Lagoon. As soon as you get on the boat, they give you some chilled, fresh fruit. It starts to immerse you in the Mayakoba region and the dense forest that surrounds it. Now we are pulling up to the villa. After that incredible boat ride, I did get my room card a little bit early, so let's take a sneak peek inside and we'll come back later in the room segment and do a full review. All right, we will come back here, I promise, but right now I want to walk around the hotel a bit more. Back to the ambiance segment, let me tell you how the hotel is actually laid out and what goes where. So as you can see here in this map that my team and I made, the valet is connected to the lobby by this circular building here. Right when you walk into the center, there's a cenote circle in the middle of the lobby that takes you down to the lower floor. There's the primary pool, and there's a couple of other pools in the spa and down by the beach. Once you're on the lower floor, you can go to the city center area that has a couple shops and one of the main restaurants. On the other side of the lobby, there's a second restaurant and one of the world's 50 best bars. Right in front of the lobby, there is the lagoon. So that is what you just saw a moment ago, and that takes you to all of the villas and suites here. A little bit further down is the beach club, and the beach club has another restaurant, the beach of course, and more pools. Now that you know where everything is, let's go take a closer look at it all. Before we go any further, I want to make sure to let you know that I was not sponsored by the hotel in any way. This is not a hosted stay. Every single thing you see here, including the room, was paid for at full price. They provide these complimentary bikes for you. This is included in your stay, and so are the golf carts that take you around the property. Let's grab one of these now and go take a closer look around. I haven't ridden one of these in years, but you know what they say? You never forget. Now, the first stop on our bike ride is the handmade basketball court and soccer field they have on the property. Now, we've seen some other properties like the Four Seasons Anguilla that have very high-tech, large basketball courts, but there's something charming about these little ones, and you can tell that they've been made with care, even though they were made by hand. The next stop in our bike ride is the Ceiba Garden. This is a covered greenhouse that contains different herbs and different fresh vegetables that they use in their restaurants and for their drinks at the Rosewood Mayakoba. It's warm, it's so peaceful and calm. They have some picnic tables set out that you could just enjoy a meal or relax. This is just accessible for guests at any time to come and walk through. This is the lobby, and while we're here, let's go over the check-in process, which will contribute to the service segment a little bit later. As soon as you arrive, you're greeted with a cold iced beverage. They grab your luggage and whisk it away to your room without you having to lift a finger. There's these small desks where you get checked in, and it's a very seamless, easy process that allows you to get right to relaxation. Here in the lobby, they've designed a hole in the middle of the ground to represent a Mexican cenote. There's a spiral staircase in the center, and these lights behind me that, of course, at night glow. It's just a very interesting art installation that's also functional to the hotel. This is one of the main ways to get to everything below, like the pool. Next to the lobby is the main pool for the resort, but you'll notice there's not a lot of people swimming. and that's probably because they keep it pretty cold in the water. It is chlorinated, they have a nice fire pit in the middle, and it's so beautifully designed with the multiple layers and cascading water. However, I just wish they warmed it up a little bit and maybe more people would use it. It's a family beach and an adults only beach, so I want to get in there and take a closer look because I've heard mixed reviews. They have a little table set up here with some Mexican coffee and some Mexican hot chocolate. It smells like cloves and dark chocolate. Really a nice added perk and benefit. Again, another added value that we'll take a look at in the it factor. Second set of pools is down by the beach. This is adults only, and the design of the area is really wonderful, but the materials themselves are a bit worn down. You can see that in the cracks on the ground. Some of the wood here is just pretty worn out, but overall it's a comfortable and relaxing place. However, they did pack in a lot of furniture and a lot of chairs here when there's not that many people that actually use and have access to this beach. So this is far from the most scenic beach. However, it definitely is private and quiet. It's a small stretch of land that you have here at the Rosewood, but the views are impeded by a few things. The first is a black barrier that's actually in the ocean, which is probably holding back the stronger waves so you can actually swim, but it just doesn't look great. Second is the construction in the distance. That's not the Rosewood, but it definitely is blocking your view of the coastline. If you're coming here to the Rosewood for a Mexican beach vacation like what you'd find in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, I probably would look elsewhere. Now my bike ride has taken us to the Sense Rosewood Spa. All of the treatments incorporate local ingredients and consider the traditions of the Mayan people. The price point, however, is very, very high, with some of their signature treatments for 90 minutes going for as much as $550 US. We're gonna go in there, take a look inside, because every guest that's staying here gets complimentary access to the spa, and then we'll see the gym. I've reviewed a lot of luxury spas on this channel now, and some of them have that incredible, jaw-dropping wow right when you walk in, like the Waldorf Astoria in Cabo, for example. This spa didn't quite have that at the Rosewood. The entrance is a little bit dull, but as soon as you walk in, you have this private pool with a waterfall, and it makes up for that. It's a great pool to go if you're getting a treatment, or if you just want a serene and relaxing place away from the rest of the guests. The Rosewood Mayakoba has a temescal, which is a sweat lodge, basically an igloo mixed with a sauna. You can even book a healer to come in and do chanting and rituals with you while you're in there. The final part of the spa is the natural cenote that they have here. So if you don't know, cenotes were actually formed when the meteor hit Earth during the time of the dinosaurs. The ripple effect from that meteor created a bunch of pockets and holes in the ground, and it's now the largest underwater tunnel system in the entire world. Is right here in Mexico in the Riviera Maya. Guests can't swim in here on a day-to-day basis, but during the full moon, they put out a cold plunge pool right here, and at the end of the night, guests can go from the cold plunge and jump into the cenote with staff supervision, of course. They did tell me they don't know how deep this actually goes, so there's still some mysteries to be unfolded here. Time to hit the gym. So here at the Rosewood, everything is technologically advanced. There's modern equipment. It's nicely spaced out in the gym here, and like you can see behind me, there's almost no one here at any time of the day. So it's very comfortable. You're on vacation in Mexico. You're probably not spending a lot of time in the gym, so let's get back into the rest of the beautiful hotel. The outdoor atmosphere of this property, the nature and the maintenance of such is extraordinary. It is very rare to find a property that is so well manicured. Everywhere you look, it is bright green. It's also a very safe resort. It just makes you feel like you're in a little oasis. I'm really impressed by the grounds here. The ambiance score. So this is going to be a controversial score to give, I can already tell, because half of you love the more luxurious and polished hotels on the channel, and the other half love the organic and natural hotels. Both are luxurious and both fall into the same category. And here at the Rosewood, the atmosphere relies heavily on the greenery, the plants, the animals, and the lagoon behind me, of course. Now, let's go through some of the pieces that make up the ambiance. The spa and the gym are high quality and interesting, but far from the most lavish on the channel. Again, utilizing the natural environment. Second, you have the walking paths, the grounds, the bikes, and the golf carts. I think they've utilized the space beautifully, and they made a very large resort feel small because you can traverse it quite easily. And finally, that beach. Now, I think we all can agree that the beach definitely could use some improvement. In fact, this hotel's been open for 17 years and generally could use a renovation. Some of the materials and some of the decor just is getting worn after all that time out here in the sun and the weather and elements. However, I think it adds a little bit of charm to this hotel, and I gave the ambiance an 8 out of 10. So after seeing everything in this extraordinary property, I know what you're thinking. Does this level of beauty continue in the room? Well, let's go take a much closer look. The room key has a nice picture of their pool on it, and we're about to enter in through the front entrance this time. Welcome to my lagoon suite at the Rosewood Mayakoba. Everything you're about to see is the base level room here at the Rosewood. Everything that's included. This room goes anywhere between 30,000 Mexican pesos and 60,000 per night, which is around 1,600 US dollars minimum. That's pretty expensive, but wait till you see everything that comes with it. There are 129 other suites just like this, or even higher category, throughout this hotel. I want to show you the best part of the room, which also happens to be the bathroom. So this is why I wanted to start with the bathroom. Incredible glass panels, a skylight beaming light down onto this massive soaking tub here that takes 45 minutes to fill, by the way. There's an indoor and an outdoor shower, so we're going to test the indoor shower, but I'll show you the outdoor as well. You have a dual vanity sink with a big mirror here, and everything looks relatively new. Smells good, it's clean, and there's a lot of space in here. Let's test that shower. The shower test, like always, is 3 criteria points. That is the size, the ease of use, and the pressure. Let's start with the size. Much larger than most luxury hotels that we've seen. So I'm assuming that the surface area here for the water should spread all the way across, and you need this much space to accommodate that. You have this dug out area down below, and now getting into the ease of use, that is really just this dial here. You pull it up, turns this on, push the button, and it turns the rain shower on. Pretty easy to use, but I do have one critique, which is that it does not indicate if it's hot or cold. So you might turn on the water, get hit with cold if you're already in there. I think it's nice to just have a good indicator, but generally ease of use is solid. Looking now at the pressure, we do have some dripping that's happening, but all of the faucet nozzles here are clean, and it's a consistent and even pressure all the way across, and it gets hot quickly. Overall, this is a good shower. The lowest category room also includes this outdoor shower in case the indoor shower wasn't quite spacious enough for you. I'll just show you briefly. So this is more about the novelty. Overall, this does pass the shower test. Now I want to get back in the room and take a closer look at that outside. Quick pit stop by the bed here. Very large, very inviting, plush looking bed. I love the crisp whites with this subtle undertone of blue here. I'm gonna sleep on this tonight and give it a full review in the morning after sleeping on it. These doors are a little difficult to open, but it's worth it. This is really what makes this room so special. Wow, this outdoor area, the nature, the birds, the plants, the private jacuzzi, which by the way, you can customize the temperature with your butler at any time. Tell them if you want it hotter or colder. Definitely a special place. Back inside now, there's even more to this room. There's a full seating area with some beautiful artwork, and it looks like very quality materials as well. And on this side of the room is the welcome amenity and the mini bar. When I first got in this room, my butler, and yes, every one of these suites has a dedicated butler that helps you and works with you, she came in and actively made some cocktails for me. She set up the entire amenity in the room, which is guacamole and these nice chips that you see here. The amenities, the welcome gifts, and the drink when you first check in are top notch. Now for the mini bar, there's a standard Nespresso pod coffee machine. You have complimentary pods here, of course, some teas, a lime cutting station that you can use for drinks, a mini fridge, and some snacks. Everything here is pretty standard, but the standout is the pricing. It's all pretty economically priced, and a couple of local things here as well. You've got some salted corn and nuts. In the mini fridge, there's a couple more snacks and different mixed drinks. You get 2 large bottles of water, and they put 2 more on your bedside table when you go to sleep during turndown. Speaking of going to sleep, I'm gonna get into my robe and start to get ready for bed because I have to test that and see if it's as good as the rest of this room. So before I get into the bed and test it tonight, I want to do 2 things. First, tell you about the turn down service, and second, call the front desk for the breakfast tomorrow morning. Now, later in the service section of this review, we're going to see if the breakfast arrived on time, if it's hot and fresh, and if they actually got it correct. But before that, let me tell you about the turn down service. So as soon as I arrived to the room, not only did they dim all of the lights in here, they gave me some Mexican orange wine, which is only in Mexico, and I wonder if they switch it up on a regular basis, especially if you have a long stay. Finally, they put out some slippers. Have you ever seen slippers that have a middle part for your toes in a hotel room? I definitely have not on this channel or otherwise. Let's call the front desk.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Could I order room service breakfast for tomorrow morning, please?
Absolutely. Have you remember your selection? Can I offer you something to start, like some chilaquiles or some pastures maybe?
Just a black coffee would be perfect, and a eggs Benedict.
Black coffee and eggs Benedict. Alrighty. What time do you need it, sir?
7 a.m., please.
7 a.m. Absolutely. How do you drink the coffee? Just black? No milk? No anything?
Just black is excellent.
Alrighty. So just then the black coffee and the traditional Benedict. 7 morning. Right?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, it is a pleasure. Have a great day.
You as well. Let's get some sleep. This mattress was pretty far from my favorite. Now, it looks so inviting and it feels bigger than other mattresses that I've reviewed on this channel, but something about the sleep last night just wasn't as fulfilling as what I'd hoped, and it didn't match the quality of everything else in the room. Could have just been an off night, but have to consider it for the room score coming next. Very hot. Oh, very hot. Let's give this room an official score. So I want to go through the positives and the negatives, and starting with the negatives, of which there aren't that many. The bed was not very comfortable. Pretty firm, not the best night's sleep. The shower, indoor and outdoor, I could say the same. Pretty clunky with how the water comes out. Just not my favorite. On the positive side, the lagoon that takes you to your back door, the outdoor jacuzzi, the massive amount of space that you have, this humongous tub that's in your room for you, all of the welcome amenities and freebies in the room. I could keep going on. This could easily be a top-level suite in some of the hotels that I've reviewed, but no, this is what you get as the standard lowest category. So I gave the room an 8.5 out of 10. Now I'm definitely ready for a full day of eating. The Rosewood Mayakoba has 3 restaurants that are currently open, bar that is a top 50 bar in the world, and a secret bonus. With that, let's get into the dining segment. Good morning from Akimikedo. This is a standard breakfast location right here on the beach. There's a la carte options on the menu, but there's also the Akimikedo breakfast, which is a little bit of everything. We're gonna add it to the dining score at the very end. The menu here is fresh and vibrant and colorful. I'm excited to dig in. This dish was fresh eggs with kale and sweet potato. And like we saw in the ambiance segment, some of this was actually grown in the garden right here on site. If you're interested in something sweet, they have pancakes, but it is a limited menu. But it's a great start to the dining segment, and I'm already feeling good for the day. The next restaurant here is Casa del Lago, which they say is a taste of Italy by the lagoon. So, of course, it is Italian cuisine here. There's a multi-course menu that you can select a la carte options from here. I asked our server, what is the #1 thing on the menu if you could only pick one? And I'm about to try it right now. It has arrived, the mushroom risotto with shrimp on top. These are locally caught shrimp. The mushroom and the risotto is so fragrant. You could smell it. I'm pretty sure the whole restaurant could smell it. Whoa. A lot of flavors happening at once. You have a truffle paste that's in there mixed with Parmesan Reggiano. It is a very strong mushroom dish. So if you don't like mushrooms, you will not love this risotto, but it is quite good. With that, I'm excited to try now the dinner establishment on site, which I keep hearing so much about. For dinner, the main event here is Agave Azul. This is a Japex cuisine, which is Japanese technique with Mexican ingredients. It is an absolute first for me tonight. The menu looks amazing. I asked the server what are some of the most popular things and got those recommendations. We'll include it in the dining score, but stick around for after, because that special extra bonus in the dining segment is coming next. Tempura rock shrimp. So apparently this is the most popular starter on the menu. Comes with 2 dipping sides. Wow, the tempura is so light and the flavor is really incredible. They use an open fire grill back there, so it's really a charred shrimp. Lovely. The service here for the dinner has generally been great, but I will say one thing is that the table has consistently been pretty messy, and we haven't really had anyone come around to tidy it up or clean it, and they took away like the small serving plates and side plates, and this is mid-dinner service right now, and we're completely empty, and I'm wiping my own table. This is just a little odd, and it could be because we're filming, so keep that in mind. The main course has arrived. This is the chili beef. It is hot, it looks fantastic, smells even better. Highly recommended from our server. First impression, the beef was very tough, so much so it actually felt like I had to work my jaw to bite through it. The flavors were excellent. There's a nice spice right on the top, really hot out of the gate, and then it cools off. I think maybe I should have taken a look at something else, but some of the other things on the menu that were recommended are $112 US, some of them even more than that. So the pricing here is something that many online have actually spoken about. It's quite expensive to dine at the Rosewood Mayakoba. We have a frozen Greek yogurt, vanilla, and matcha macaron for dessert here. The flavors are delicate, they blend together very nicely. However, I've had some macarons that had a softer almond cookie on the top and the bottom, and I do prefer that. This one's a little bit crunchier and harder, but it's a nice contrast to the frozen Greek yogurt in the center, which has a lovely flavor, by the way. But now, we're gonna head out of here and go take a look at what I think is the most interesting part of the dining at the Rosewood. The hidden speakeasy on site. And to get to the speakeasy, you actually have to talk to the hostess, and they take you on an adventure to go and find it. Tonight, I'm gonna show you. Okay, here we go. We're back on the boat now, so apparently this is how you get to the speakeasy. I couldn't imagine where this is, or that people would even know that this exists. All right, we've arrived. He let me know the name is called the Isla Secreta, which means the secret island. It's pretty quiet in there, but by far the most interesting speakeasy I've ever been to. On Isla Secreta, they bring you the menu in a bottle, almost like a hidden message. Very cool. What an interesting concept here. So I can't decide if this is more in the dining segment or the it factor. I mean, how many hotels have you stayed at that have a hidden island speakeasy that you can go to and order drinks? Great cocktails, even better atmosphere. Wow, it's almost like a treehouse in the jungle. What a great way to end the dining segment. And it's time to give the Rosewood Mayakoba a dining score. One thing I really love about the Rosewood dining is their local ingredients and how some are so local that they even grow them right on site. I love the dishes, however, not every one of them was exceptional. The beef dish, for example, could be taken a look at, and some of the others were just not very memorable. With all of that being said, however, I absolutely would come back to any of these restaurants and try them again. I gave the dining an 8 out of 10. Now, service is so important to a luxury hotel stay. I have a couple of tests for the Rosewood that I can't wait to see how they do. The breakfast that I ordered last night has arrived. It is 7:03 a.m., so only a few minutes late, which is reasonable when they have to literally bike or take a golf cart with this tray to get here. Overall, the tray presentation looks very nice. A big pot of coffee we're going to look at in a second, and of course, the main dish here. This came out to 930 Mexican pesos, or $50.77 as of the time of this recording. That does not include gratuity. So on this grid here, you can see all of the hotel's breakfast pricing for the exact same order. So this is pretty reasonably priced compared to other hotels that I reviewed, even without gratuity and the service charge. And the presentation is really nice. You got the Eggs Benedict here with some hollandaise already on top. Let's cut them open. So I cut the Eggs Benedict to see how fresh the egg is and how recently it was made. So this one's on the thicker side. Now this is the service segment, not the dining, but the taste isn't all that remarkable. However, the presentation is very nice and I like that it comes with asparagus. Time to pour coffee. Hot, fresh. Now they did pass the breakfast test here, but we won't have a service score until we give it a final service test. The service test is the part of my hotel review where I call the front desk, or in this case, my butler, and I ask for something that they're not used to accommodating or hearing. And here at the Rosewood Mayakoba, there's a consistent theme of the cenote. As I mentioned earlier in this review, the cenote is an underground water tunnel system through this part of Mexico, and it's very much so a large part of this region. I'm curious if there's anyone on the staff that could accommodate a last-minute request to do something fun with the cenotes.
Hola, Mr. Walker, thank you for the wait.
I have kind of a last-minute request for you, and I would love to see one of the cenotes in the region. Is there anyone available for a tour of a cenote?
Let me send you the information so you can let me know which one you prefer because I have two options.
Wonderful, thank you so much. That's excellent.
No, my pleasure.
Okay.
Very good. I'll be reaching out shortly.
All right, talk to you soon. Sounds like they're able to accommodate it even last minute. Now I'm curious what kind of options she ends up sending through, but until then, let's go walk around the hotel a little bit and talk about the service generally. I think what's happening behind me speaks for itself. The staff here are hardworking, kind, thoughtful, and always attentive. You have a butler that is assigned to your room regardless of your room category, and she has been fantastic, very communicative, all hours of the day and night. Every staff that I've passed by has greeted me by name. All of the staff at the restaurants have been wonderful, with the only exception being the slower service for the table cleaning at the dinner restaurant. Minor critique there compared to the very positive overall experience that I've been having. The welcome drink was excellent, the amenity in the room was excellent, and the turn-down service in the room was excellent. This is looking like it's going to be a very high score. I can't wait to see how they handled that service test. I have made it to the cenote tour that the Rosewood set up for me. It is a dense jungle out here. It's hot, it's muggy. Really am excited to jump into that ice-cold, natural cenote water. What a great experience. I don't get to do a lot of things like that when I travel to countries like this, and I'm really grateful that they set that up. So I do wish that the tour guide was a little more open to being on camera and explaining some of the history of the region, the Mayan people, the Yucatan, but overall, they did set this up last minute. Everything was excellent. It was well coordinated. They officially passed the service test. Let's give the Rosewood a service score. The service at the Rosewood is truly extraordinary. I talked to many other guests who felt the exact same way. They passed that service test, they passed the breakfast trial, and the dining service was solid, but it was the only room for improvement. I gave service here a 9 out of 10. Let's talk about the location of the Rosewood. So we already talked about the bikes, and these golf carts can take you anywhere you want to go in the property. It's a pretty large property, and it can be challenging to navigate for that reason. Outside of this property, we're located in a very premium stretch of beach that has many ultra-luxury hotels in the area. This area is actually becoming one of the most prime pieces of real estate in all of Mexico for luxury hotels. Now for the unique nature of this hotel in my personal favorite place on the property. Honestly, how unique this hotel is cannot be overstated. When I was staying here, I was taking videos of the lagoon and sending it to my friends and family. I was blown away by that experience alone. It is one of the most unique properties that I've had the privilege of staying at. And finally, the value. Is the Rosewood Mayakoba worth it? So this is a little bit tough because that price point per night is very high. However, if you look at other hotels on this page as well that are in a similar price category and bracket, you don't get nearly as many complimentary amenities, services, and activations as you do here at the Rosewood. If you can afford it, it's a great splurge and you won't leave feeling disappointed. So with the value, the unique nature, and the location of this hotel in consideration, I gave the factor a 9 out of 10. That was the Rosewood Mayakoba, and I absolutely recommend this hotel. In fact, I think it is one of the highest scores on the channel and will be for a while. If you add all of the scores together throughout this review, I gave Rosewood Mayakoba in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, a 42.5 out of 50. I've reviewed a couple other hotels in the area as well, so be sure to check back in the future and do some comparisons. But until then, thank you for watching. It's time to check out. I'm Ryan Walker, and we'll see you on the next one.